because the next part of the call is the goal, right? And I call this part of the call the ask. If we had some graphics here, we'd have a big ASK here, the ask, right? Out of my hands, boom, the ask. Because the ask is the goal of the call, right? That is the goal of the call. And that you have to make. There's no way I'm letting you off the hook. You've got to make the ask. But the ask comes after giving them some value.
Live now, Gus. Literally just
right on time.
As we speak, right? So, but hey, everybody, thanks so much, as always, for tuning in for another incredible live webinar with LabCoatAgents, LCA family. It's always a pleasure. I'm Greg Fowler, your host for today, one of your many humble moderators through the group. And, it's always an absolute honor and a pleasure for me to be spending any amount of time with my good friend Gus. Now, if you don't know who Gus is, I tell you that he's the CEO and founder of PowerISA, which is one of the most incredible companies when it comes down to inside sales associates, really making those leads turn into closed transactions and conversions. I love Gus and I love everything that he represents. So sorry to gush on you, Gus, but I got to do it. But thanks so much for taking the time, my friend. It's an honor.
Awesome. So much. Thanks so much, Greg. And for the folks that know, Greg is not just a pal, he's also a customer. So he speaks from experience, right? So I love that. So appreciate those kind words, Greg.
Yeah, it's the truth to that. I mean, it's one of those things, Gus, that you need to really experience it to know what's going on, and absolute incredible results. I can't harp enough. But with that knowledge, Gus, and what you've done and your company and your team it's involved, there's so much knowledge in your head, and you're always so giving with that knowledge through LCA. And I know that everyone appreciates it. Today's topic is massive, and I really can't wait to dive into 3 steps for database domination. And that title is incredible. So Gus, where do you want to start with that? Where do you want to start rolling?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's one of those topics that I think every agent knows about this. Every agent gets drilled into the database and sphere of influence, SOI, friends and family, kind of whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to talk about. People know kind of what that is. Oh, yeah, that's something you should do. Oh, yes, yeah, I'll get to it at some point. I'm telling folks, I'm here to tell you that if you're in this session today, something, called to you, something was interesting about that. Something kind of said, okay, I should learn to do this better. I should get a better result in my database, right? Maybe I would love people in the room right now, drop a comment. Do you have a database or not, right? And again, no shame. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're in this session, it's because you want to get better. Drop a comment. If you have a database or if you're just getting started, you want to learn how to do it and how to work it effectively, I would love to know, a quick show of hands, who here already has a database that they're working, and who here is here to learn how to do that? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear what people are saying. But what I mean by database domination is really specific. That's not just a catchphrase. What I mean by that is, are you getting a 10 to 15% conversion rate from that database every single year? Are you getting a 10 to 15% conversion rate from that database every single year? What does that mean? It means if you have 200 people in that database, is that database helping you get 20 to 30 transactions every single year? That's what I mean, right? 100%. So I've got some newbies in the house. So Josh is new to real estate. Welcome to the industry, Josh. Welcome to the talk. I think you're at a perfect point in your career to listen to this. I wish I would have gotten this talk when I was a month into real estate. It took me a few months in there to really figure this out. But I definitely figured it out within my first year. I was fortunate enough to figure it out within my first year. But it should have been almost like the toll booth to enter the industry. It's that important, right? So 20 to 30 deals out of a 200-person list. And I'm not making that number up because I did that from a 200-person list for 3 years, right? With my first 3 years in real estate. My first 3 years in real estate, I closed like clockwork, 25 to 30 deals every single year just from my database. And the first 3 years, I did nothing but database. right? I wasn't the ISA guy back then. Right now, people know me more for converting internet leads and prospecting. The first 3 years was not about that. My first 3 years, my first 80 to 90 transactions were just from working one list of 200 people, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. What do you need to do to work that effectively? And actually going to throw in another tip in there that I wish I would have had back then. How to use it effectively to get that 10 to 15% conversion rate, right? That's what we need. That's what we're going to talk about today, okay? That, for me, is database domination. And I was having a conversation the other day with Brett Boone, the #1 team in Oklahoma, 100 million in volume a year producer in a state where, like, I think the average price point is like 100K. I don't know. I'm not familiar with Oklahoma. That's a lot of homes in Oklahoma. 100 million is a lot of units in Oklahoma. This guy's a monster. And I asked him, he does everything. He loves FISBOs, he does Google leads, he does everything, right? Such a big team. I asked him, what's the #1 lead source, the most valuable one, the one you cannot live without, you would prefer, and before you throw away the rest? And his answer was, without a doubt, database. And I was like, wait, hold on, what? You're the FISBO guy. What are you talking about? Yeah, FISBOs are fun and they're great. You build a business database, right? $100 million a year producer, guys. I think we should really, really listen to that, right? That is important. He does not let a person into his team. I think he has like a 20, 30 person team. He does not let anyone into his team without a 200 person database on day one when they start on his team. Day one, guys. Okay. So for me, that he was like, a brother from another mother for me, right? Because I heard he resonated with me. And he said his expected conversion rate was 10%. And I think that's conservative. That's good. It's a good goal. 10% is good. I would do closer to 15. Again, I'm one guy. He has a team of 30 people. 10% might be good, is okay for him, right? If you can scale it to such a large team, that's perfect, right? 10%. You can do up to 15, but at least Brett wants you to bring 20 deals to the table from that list in your first year. In your first year, okay? So all of this to say, guys, database is important. The database is the foundation of your business. Isn't just a catchphrase, isn't just a buzzword. It can be the foundation of your business if you know what you're doing and you do it the right way. Today, we're going to talk about 3 steps to database domination, how to get your database to that stage. Here we go. Step number 1. Step number 1, and that's a pretty straightforward one, is build the database. Build the database, okay? What does that mean? This is ironically where most people get stuck. This is where people kind of get started, they're not sure what to do, or they get stuck on small issues like procrastinating. What tools should I use? Should I buy a CRM? Should I do this? Should I do that? And I always tell folks, it is a lot simpler than that. Don't get stuck at this step. This is the easy one. This step is not the hard one. This is the easy step. If you're taking a couple of days to get started with this, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You're not doing it the right way. My definition of who should be in your database is anyone in your sphere that if you called them, texted them, direct messaged them on social, they would find out who you are. They know, oh, who is this? Oh, it's Greg Baldwin. No, we went to school back in, they know, oh yeah, Greg, how's it going, bro? Like they would know who that person is, right? Even if you have to jog their memory a little bit, they know who you are. Anyone that fit that description should be in your database. Anyone and everyone that fits that description. And you have to make a list of this, right? You got to crack open Excel or Google Sheets, and you should go name, email, phone number. Keep it simple at first. Keep it as simple as possible. And for a lot of these contacts, you might just have their email. Start with something. Get them in the list as soon as possible. But to have a complete database, you have at least have name, phone number, email. That is a database. Name, phone number, email. Brett Boone, right? My client and buddy, he includes home address. He won't let you take it in without home address too. That's hardcore, right? That's like the only time I call message people, give me your home address. I'm getting, oh, correct. You're getting married, right? You're going to send me an invitation. Why are you asking for my home address, right? So I'm not as hardcore as Brett is. That's why he's successful, right? Because he's like, hey, this is the standard he wants his team to have, right? Because they actually do send them mails, right? They'll send them information, that's awesome. And the biggest thing people will get stuck on is, okay, where do I get this? Where do I start? Where do I put it? Google Sheets. So guys, when I'm talking about those 90 transactions I closed from 200 people, they were in Excel the whole time, 3 years. Why? Because in my humble opinion, this is controversial, by the way, you don't need more than that for a list like that. These are not internet leads. They don't need to be in a drip campaign. They don't need to be texted automatically. They don't need to be, you don't need to like do some information in the back end to get their link, their social media link. You got them already. They're in your database, right? Those CRMs are excellent at converting what the industry calls your unmet database. Your unmet database. Maybe that's another session for the future. Like, what do you do with unmet database? I'm talking about the definition I'm talking about. People that know who you are is the met database. The met database, right? Gus, why is that important? Well, unmet and met database is radically different, right? Radically different. I'll give you a quick example. You give me 100 Facebook leads that I'm gonna put an ad out there. You know, Greg can tell you more how to do that. But I buy 100 Facebook leads that are looking for homes in my area. You can buy them for $500, maybe less than $1,000. You get 100 Facebook. They're not that expensive. Boom, get them in there. And if I'm hitting them, if I'm calling them effectively, boom, 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 I know I can talk to about 10, maybe 15 motivated leads, right? Out of 100, that's what it works. Those are the percentages in a month, within a month. I'll talk to 10 to 15 of them. They're motivated, they want to talk. With some skill, I'll probably, if I let this round it out to 10, I'm going to get 3 clients out of that. I have some skill, right? 3 clients are going to sign with me, going to help me represent them. Boom, let's go. That's a realistic number. Database, so 3 out of 10 is a really good conversion rate because you know your scripts, you know your follow-up, you're a pro at this. 3 out of 10. Database, you get me 10 appointments with database, motivated buyers or sellers. My conversion rate was 90%. 90%, they were going to be a client of mine. They're motivated to buy or sell, and they already know, like, and trust me, or came from someone that knows, likes, and trusts me. Guys, you're on the other end of the finish line at that point, right? Like, I didn't get 100% because people are people, but damn, there were some months that was pretty close to 100%, right, of conversion for that. It was about 90, right? Because sometimes it might happen. But it is 3 times more powerful to have a database set of leads than have unmet internet leads. And again, people make massive businesses from those internet leads. I'm not gonna bash them. That's awesome. But if you don't start converting your own database, it's going to be hard to learn and figure out people that don't even know, like, and trust you yet. That's the challenge with these unmet internet leads. It's harder. It's harder. You're competing with the open marketplace. It's a struggle to differentiate yourself. Database, guys, that's different, right? You're starting off on the right foot. That's why it's so important. Build that met database, Google Sheets, Microsoft Excel, get it. I think they're all free now, right? You just go on the web and use these. I mean, there's no excuse anymore, guys. Back in my day, I had to buy Office, right? Microsoft Office. This is wild. So I had it in there and I made it, right? And sometimes people say, how many people should I put in there, Gus? What's a good number, right? My number, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say this now, when I had new people on my team, was 100 people. Well, now that I've heard Brett Boone's number, I go, well, that's the number I started with. It should be 200 people, right? Why not? What's the difference, right? I had a member of my team, new teammate, come in as a buyer's agent, and this is Seattle, Washington. She had come to the country, come to the US when she was, 20 years old. So she joined my team at about 25-ish. And she barely spoke English when she got to Seattle, right? And she knew absolutely nobody, right? She came to the country as a babysitter originally, and then she stayed, got residency, started working real estate. And within 5 years, she had over 100 people in her database, right? Over 100 people. So whenever someone came to my team and said, oh, Gus, I only have 50 people in my database, I go, okay. I would honestly, I would ask them this question. Were you born in this country, right? Most of them were. Is English your first language? Okay, yes. Well, then Costa Rican girl over there got 100. Like, come on, bro. Like, you can do better. Or sis, like whoever it was, right? Come on, you got to do better than that, right? Because she got more. And you probably know you're being too picky. You're picking your favorite friends, your favorite family members, the ones I like the most. That's not what this is about, guys. It's about, once you figure this out, right? When you go through the 3 steps, you realize that once you know how to build a database and work it effectively, which is step 2, spoiler alert, the game is how to get more people in my database. That's the game, right? That is the focus of what your business should be, right? And again, once you get better at that, even the unmet database, getting more people into that unmet database. Once you have a pipeline, you have a way to convert them. It's all about getting them in in a cost-effective way. That's the game as well. But step one is build it. Step one is build it. And if you get less than 200 people, number one, you couldn't join one of the real estate teams, right? You couldn't even join them, right? And if you get less than 100, were you born in this country? Ask yourself, is English my first language? I got to work harder at this. Friends, family, co-workers, people from church, people you went to school with, right? Your neighbors will line up, right? Anyone and everyone that would know who you are, right? 100%. Another common objection I get, because this is very common now in the country, because I just moved, right? I'm from Seattle, but I moved to Boulder. I literally got this objection from someone. I just moved to Boulder. What do? I know 5 people in Boulder, which is probably true, right? You just moved there. It's no 5 people. I go, it doesn't matter. You've got 2 options that can work. Number one, build it anyway. Your database is going to be 99% Seattle, right? Guess what, guys? There's this thing called referrals. You can get one of my biggest mistakes, Red, when I did this in Seattle, I was in the country I'd been about 10 years in the country at that point. So I had a database of 200 people, right? And my biggest mistake was not including all of the out-of-state friends I had, right? Because every year I would get I think the most I got was 3, 1, 2, or 3 out-of-state referrals, right? My buddy would call me, hey, Gus, you're in real estate. I want to buy a home out here in Northern Virginia. Hey, Gus, I'm in, Houston. Hey, what should I do? Give me a suggestion. I go, well, I'll give you more than a suggestion. Work with this guy, right? I know he's going to close that deal. So I loved collecting those checks. I'm not every day of the week. I never worked that database. I'll be honest with you. If I would have done that, guys, it would have been 35, 40, 50 deals a year for me, right? If I would have actually done that. Don't make that mistake. Use the database you have. That definition, I never said geography. If you listen to my definition, like people that know, like, and trust you within no radius. No, like, afraid know, like, and trust you, they know who you even are. Know who you even are, right? And I'll get to that, more into that in the second step. But don't make that mistake. Put everybody in. Put everybody in. I have like 18 cousins in Southern California, right? I didn't call them once. Like, come on, right? You can do even better than Gus did with that list of 200 people. Do better, be best, right? And you have the second option, if you're in Boulder, no 5 people, other than getting your database from Seattle, do with another one of my clients did, Ed Boulanger. He said when he was from Boston, he's a big guy, Boston guy. He's like the definition of Boston. He moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, which is not Boston. Let me just tell you that. I'll just keep it lightly, right? It's not Boston. And he knew nobody. And he sounded like from another country, honestly, right? It's relatively close. This is the US, right? So he was like, not from there. And it's very obvious. He's a big Boston accent too, right? So what he did every single day, he printed out, this is pretty hardcore, but listen to the principle. He printed out 1,000 business cards and made an effort. This is pretty hardcore. 20 contacts a day, handing him out his business card. But always in reciprocity. Hey, Mr. Barista man, that was so awesome. Guess what? I'd like to give you my card. And if you ever have any questions about real estate or need like a vendor or you need anything, like a property, tax information, anything you need, I want you to call me because I owe you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I want to return the favor. Anytime you or anyone you know has a question about anything about real estate, I'm your guy. Just send it out there. No worry, no commitment. I love to help, right? So he did that for, a couple of months. He did that. Within 90 days, he was getting some of those callbacks and messages, right? That's pretty hardcore. You don't have to go that hardcore unless you're in a rush. Ed's story is awesome because he had no option to do that. He was like, when your back's against the wall, you get creative, guys. This is not always bad. He went out there and he created a database of people, right? And he did it by handing out business cards and hoping they would call back. You can do even better. Get an email from them. Hey, great. Give me your email. I'd love to send you my newsletter, whatever it is. Give me something about it. I'll get more into that. But you can go hardcore and build a database in 90 days. Get 100 people in that database in 90 days, right? Get 200 people in that database in 90 days. Go hardcore. Do it, right? If you give yourself an ambitious goal, you're gonna find a way to make it happen. So that's what I would say for those out-of-state objections. Oh my God, I don't have enough. Find a way to get people in, right? That's it. So that is step number 1, right?
Hey, Gus, sorry to interrupt you. Didn't mean to stop you there. Just before you go to step 2, I just want to recap the importance of what you're mentioning in the build phase, and all that advice was absolute gold. I think so many people get tripped up in the objections or the thought process, whether they're from there or not, or in or out of country, in or out of state. There really is no excuse. And this is something that we teach all the time. I mean, you had mentioned, look, go through your cell phone, you can go through your social media platforms, you can reach out to your neighbors, obviously church groups, anything physical, but you can also look to it digitally, right? So same principle that applies to that gentleman from Boston. If you're physically involved in groups, right? He's handing out business cards left and right. But if you have a passion, if you love to hike, or if you love mountain biking, or if it's stamp collecting or gardening, join Facebook groups. And then you're building your database through getting to know, like, and trust one another organically through Facebook groups, and then bring that to the physical world. But no matter if your database is 10 people or 10,000, in my opinion, Gus, and correct me if I'm wrong, everyone should be always building their database, no matter where they're at, physically and digitally. So I just want to throw that out.
And I'm going to get to that because that's step number 3, but you're absolutely right. I agree with you. And I did kind of glance over that. A great place to start your database is your phone contact list, right? My clarification there is your database isn't your phone contact list. Your database has to live somewhere else. Force yourself and Google this. How to get my phone contact list into Google Sheets. There's a gazillion articles out there. It's very easy to do. You'll do it in 5 minutes, right? Get your phone contact list into a sheet, right? Start there. Start with that. You already got their phone numbers, right? How many contacts do people have in their phones? I bet you that everyone on this call right now has at least 100 people. I mean, come on, right? It's like, you have to. So almost
Easily.
So if they know who you are, they should be in that database. And if you have their phone number, I hope they know who you are, right? I really hope. And then you can augment that with friends from social. Everyone and their grandma is on Facebook. Everyone and their buddies are on Instagram. And a few of you, pioneers are on TikTok and other platforms. Find a way to connect with them. You got to get contact information. Can't just be a user handle. You got to know who they are, right? That's why Facebook is so powerful that way. It does kind of authenticate. There's more people using their real name on it. It helps, right? But whatever social media platform you're on, get that contact information. Start with their email, but find a way to get their phone number and everything else, right? You can start phone contact list is the best way to start, and augment that with social media and also email accounts are a great way. You probably have hundreds, if not thousands, of people in your email account. Start there as well. Find a way to get more contact information, right? And ask them. And this is key. And I'll get into this in the next step. But you've got to find a creative way to ask them for help in building your business. That's what step number 2 is about. And step number 2 is once you've built it, now you've got to work it effectively. And this is the bulk of the rest of the presentation. Working it effectively is the game, guys. That is the game. Because you can build it for sure. I mean, boom, I exported my phone contacts. Database close, guys. You're about 2/3 of the way there. It's pretty close. But you got to work that database effectively. And nowadays, I was doing this back in 2013, 2014. So to remind people what things were like back then, the iPhone was catching on. Remember, it had only been there for a few years. And Facebook was catching on. This wasn't as dominant as it is right now. Instagram was nowhere to be found back in 2013. This is a long time ago. What I was doing there was focusing on my newsletter. Number one way I worked my database, I would send a monthly newsletter, right? And that was conservative, guys. Nowadays, I'm a pro now. I email my database 2 to 3 times, up to 4 times 1 week. Up to 4 times in a week. I didn't start there, right? Because now I have more content. I'm a better marketer than I was back then, right? But at the very least, I would send my database 1 email every single month with my information about the market, real estate, my latest wins, my latest client wins, the latest bidding more that I found. Guys, once you kind of realize that you're a walking and talking content machines as real estate agents, and that everybody and their mom, again, wants to know about real estate. I mean, it's just the way, because you own real estate, you want to know how much it's worth. Because you don't own it, you also want to know about it, like how to get one, right? So this is America. This is ingrained in the culture. Home ownership is something different in the US. It's just different. In Canada as well, close second, right? Also, but very different in other countries. This is something about the country that people love it, right? So you gotta dive into that. You gotta tap into that curiosity. You gotta drive into that interest in real estate. Talk about if you're a new agent. I think with Josh said, "Hey, I'm a new agent. I'm up in the business." Josh, you're going to learn more in this first year than in the other 30 years you're going to be in real estate. I guarantee it, right? You're going to learn more this year. Talk about your journey, right? And you can use tools that I didn't use to work my database. If you're gonna, so now database nowadays, I refer to it as in a different word, which is very synonymous, which is my audience. I now call it my audience, right? It's still my database, but I call it my audience because I'm more of a content focused working my database now. I do a lot of content now, right? So friend everyone you've got on social media. You're getting friend them in there, get them in there, boom, 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 boom. And then a way to work your database is if I were Josh right now, I'm not joking. I would go live on Facebook or Instagram or whatever the hell you want to use. I would go live every day talking about what I learned that day, right? Talking about how awesome my team is or how awesome my brokerage is, how awesome I am, how much knowledge you're gaining, the first deal you close, the first negotiation you win, the first listing you get, an awesome inspection you went to. Go tour homes, Man, I was just doing a quick experiment with LCA this last week and looking at TikTok accounts. The top TikTok accounts in the country look at homes, show people awesome looking homes. Like, duh, like we do that every day, guys. Either because we're showing homes or we're touring inventory. Like literally every agent in the country is a content machine, you just don't know it. Those are great ways to build a database. You can start small, newsletter, or you can go nuclear, like Josh is going to do, which is going live on social media, telling people what he's learning every single day. You find that happy medium. But this is the most important thing I'm talking about next. One thing you cannot, you've got the newsletter option, you've got the social media option. The one thing you cannot get away from doing with your database is calling it 4 times per year, right? Calling it 4 times per year, because everything else is garnish. Everything else is you're setting up the table for that call. Everything else, social media, those posts, it's like the Bloody Mary. Everything else is tomato juice. Calling is the vodka. No vodka, no Bloody Mary, guys. Calling is the vodka. Calling is the punchline. Calling is the goal, right? Because I, Gus, have never found a better way to get a referral, to get a good conversation going that isn't the phone. Maybe, and again, this is 2022. FaceTime or Zoom or all those things count now, right? And we have a two-way conversation. The only thing I won't count to that, and I was hardcore about it in 2013, I'm a hardcore now, texting doesn't count as a two-way conversation. DMing does not count as a two-way conversation. Those are great ways to communicate. They should lead to a call, right? Do, Facebook, video calls. Do, I don't know, do whatever you want, right? But have that two-way conversation uninterrupted. That's what you need. That's what needs to happen, right? 100%. So really important to know, calling is the goal. But Gus, my God, I don't want, what do I say? I don't want to, so this is the number one objection, Greg, to this whole project. I don't want to be that guy that calls all my family up and tells them wants to buy real estate. You want to buy your house today, right? I don't want to be that guy. So trust me, if you're calling up your friends and family, asking them if you want to buy a house, then I don't want to be you either, right? That's not what you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You don't want to be the Amway guy, and no hate on Amway. I mean, you want to be the MLM guy, right? That's calling them to show them the latest thing you want to sell them, right? They have to go help you sell. This is not it. This is not it. And this is the biggest nugget in the whole talk, right? So people that are listening right now, right? The people that are on this call right now, write this down, right? The thing that made it much easier for me to make those calls 4 times a year was every time I called, I had something of value to offer my audience first. Something valuable to offer them first, because people don't want to make those calls because they have something that's called absence of value, right? Call reluctance, and I love this quote, call reluctance comes from an absence of value. Call reluctance. You won't make the call because I don't want to bother people. Greg, I don't want to bother grandma. Greg, I don't want to bother my friends. I don't want to bother them. This is such a pain. They're going to hate me and they're not going to be my friends. That's the mindset. People go into this, right? Well, flip that mindset and look at it this way. If you had a $10,000 check to give them, how easy would that call be? Right? Because I feel that helping them with a real estate transaction, me being a pro, helping them out is like giving them a $10,000 check in my very humble, right? Having them work with someone that knows, likes, and trusts them. How much is that worth to them, right? And that's not even what I would use. I would invite them to an event. I would do a giveaway. I would do an investment class, first-time buyer class. Once I had more budget, this is not year one, year two, year three, I would do hors d'oeuvres and drinks at the local restaurant or bar. I did a party at a skating rink. I did, a pie giveaway at Thanksgiving one time, right? I did something in the park, like a barbecue at the park one time, right? 100%. So you've got to have something valuable to give them. It makes making the call, guys, 100 times easier. Greg, this is Gus. I'm with Keller Williams, just jumping in. And I wanted to call you, Greg, because guess what? My next event is coming up and I want you to be there. This is a real story. We have a movie night coming up, right? That movie that came out, I'm going to be showing it for the kids or for adult I'm renting out I had a movie theater in my apartment complex, right? I'm like, hey, Greg, they actually lent it to me. You don't have to rent it out. I'm going to have a movie night. There's going to be a little popcorn machine. I'm going to pop in a movie. It's going to be tons of fun. I want you to be there, right? Can you make it? Guys, the answer doesn't matter. It doesn't. They want to go in. Maybe they're busy. They're on a town. Who cares, right? You're calling them enthusiastically with that. And I want you to do that same Gus energy, right? That same Gus energy. I want you to be there. I'd love to have you there. Can you make it? Maybe yes, maybe no. Who cares? Because the next part of the call is the goal, right? And I call this part of the call the ask. If we had some graphics here, we'd have a big ASK here, the ask, right? Out of my hands, boom, the ask. Because the ask is the goal of the call, right? That is the goal of the call. And that you have to make. There's no way I'm letting you off the hook. You've got to make the ask. But the ask comes after giving them some value. Hey, come to my picnic. Come to my first-time buyer class. Come to my ice cream social. Guys, have them lend you a conference room in your brokerage and bring a tub of ice cream. That's an ice cream social. That's it, right? Like, go for it. Your budget doesn't really matter. Having a class for first-time homeowners, what's that cost, right? Come on, right? If you don't know how to do one, bring someone in or bring your lender. Bring a teammate. Like, have them do the class for heaven's sake. It doesn't matter, right? Be valuable. It's the number one. Be valuable. But you got to make the ask. You got to show some humility, because the ask, my favorite version of the ask is this. And that, I invited Greg to the movie night. Can he come? Can he not? Who cares? Hey, Greg, thanks so much. Bring that. And again, as you know, Greg, I'm here to ask you a simple question, Greg. I would love your help in building my business, right? Greg, who do you know that might be thinking of buying or selling a home in the next 6 to 12 months? Do you know anyone that might be doing something in real estate soon? Anybody, Greg? Anybody at all? Right? That's an exaggeration, but ask the question. Let's see what they say, guys. Let's see what they say. And this is funny. Once you do that, I did this for 3 years straight. I actually did this 4 years, but the 4th year I was living in Mexico. I closed 17 transactions living outside the country because I would call my database and refer out the names. That was not a bad year, right? That was not bad. Database is database, right? That was crazy. And so I would ask the question, can you help me build my business? Who do you know that may be thinking of doing something, right? And then just shut up. Let's see what they say. You don't have to have an objection. You have to have anything. Just ask the question honestly, sincerely, and let's see what they say, right? It's a little bit putting yourself out there, but trust me, guys, this is the safest conversation to have. These people know who you are, right? Don't worry about it, right? You're never going to get realtors. Imagine all these objections, right, that people can come out with in 3 years of making. It was thousands of calls they did with the script. Not one time did I get anyone. The worst thing I ever heard was, I don't have anything best right now, but I'll let you know. Thank you so much. Keep me in mind. Let me know. I'd love to help anybody out. Great. That's awesome. That was the worst thing that could happen. Gus, you haven't called me in 6 months. That doesn't happen, guys, in real life, right? In real life, that doesn't really happen. It's in our heads. Gus, why haven't you called me more often? This isn't the 70s. People could only call. Come on, guys, this is not real. It's not real. Those objections are not real. That's not a real thing that's going to happen. Make the call, make the ask, and you will be surprised, right? The results. Because not everyone's going to give you a referral. Like I said, 10% conversion rate, right? That's a solid conversion. It's a really good conversion, right? And my conversion rate, I mean a referral that closes it. I'm being really specific, right? A conversion rate, a referral that closes as a transaction, 10%. So you might get a little bit more referrals than that, but not all of them are going to close. It's fine, right? You take a while. It's real estate. But you will be surprised that not everyone, but out of 200 people, I would have 3, 4, 5 people that not only would give me referrals, but were enthusiastic about it. They're like, oh, Gus, what do we do? How do we figure this out, Gus? Let's see, man, I've known this person. Let me ask this other person. We got to figure this out. You got to come over to my business, my home. We got to do this, do that. I'll invite you to something like that. And this is and those people are called your ambassadors, your advocates, right? Your power referral people. They might be connectors. They know a lot of people. They just might like you a lot. They might have they're another business owner. They kind of know how that hustle goes. Doesn't matter to me. But here's the punchline. You do not know who those people are until you call everybody. I wish it was as easy as saying, oh, they're going to be your closest family. Maybe not, guys, right? For a lot of reasons. Maybe they love you. You're just not good at connecting people. That's fine. You're still my cousin, and that's not going to change anything, right? You do not know who those people are until you make the call. It can be the most surprising thing, right? It can be the wife of someone you know, right? I had a lot of buddies that were in Microsoft with me, and I'd call them, and sometimes they weren't home. The wife would pick up, and there was a couple of them. They go, "Oh, 100." Again, you might have a lot of bored housewives in your database. I did. I was 20, I was 25, 30. I had a lot of bored housewives in my database, and they're like, "Let's make this happen, bro." Okay, for sure. And you never know who's going to. You might have someone that owns a local business, and they want to just help because they know everybody. That's great. You never know until you make the call. So make the call and be consistent with it. I got into a rhythm that people knew when I was calling. They knew the script, and they go, "Oh, don't worry, I don't have anybody for you yet, but I'll have somebody next time." Oh, great, thank you so much. I appreciate you, Greg. Thank you for even thinking about that. Thank you so much. And you'll get a number of referrals. Just call it to the list, and that list is gold. You're going to call that next day. You're going to convert those referrals, right? But guess what? A month later, Greg might send me a text. I got somebody, bro. You did it. This is it. They're going to come out throughout the year. It's not going to happen immediately. Don't worry about that. But once you call them once, call them twice, call them 3 times, you're going to go, well, I better be working on this. I better have somebody for doing it. I don't know why people have a sense of reciprocity. You're giving them something valuable. Man, Gus gave me a pie. I got to give him a referral. It doesn't cost me anything. It's just being a nice guy, right? When people are kind to you, it is human nature to be reciprocous and be kind to them back. That's just the way we work. We're wired that way. And we're sometimes so fearful and shy about tapping into that sentiment. Guys, make this happen, do it, right? So we're almost out of time, but I want to hit up on step number 3, right? But step number 2 is so important. That one is the game. That is where the magic happens. Build a database, share them with them some content. Newsletters, social are the best, right? Make it real estate related, make it relevant. But the magic happens on those calls 4 times per year, right? Oh my God, Gus, that's too much. It's not too much. I promise you, it's not much at all, right? And I know other databases, companies, programs say, call someone every day. So have someone in your database call every day during the year. I found it most effective for the events. Honestly, guys, it made it so much easier for me. I would call, instead of calling 2 people a day all year, I would call everybody 4 times a year. I'd be done with it within 2 to 3 days, right? Calling through that list. And that activity for me was a $1,000, $2,000 an hour activity. Every time I made those calls, I would get about 30,000 in GCI almost immediately, right? Again, this is back when the median price in Seattle was 300,000, which seems ages ago. It's almost $1 million now, right? But this is back when, now it's like, it's triple the value of that database. It's the value tripled in these 10 years. Awesome, that's great. So find a way to do it. It was a valuable activity. And it wasn't easy for me to do. I'm not going to say, oh man, it's so great. But I knew that it was going to drive my business, and I knew it was going to move the needle for me, and it made it easier to offer them something value, right? Great, let's invite people to this event. Let's go. For me, it was, I need to invite people to the event. It's not, I need to go beg people for business. That's the wrong way. I'm asking for help. Can you help me out to build my business? Very simple question, right? So step number 3, What is step number 3? Greg kind of teaches
Gus, I got to stop you before you go to 3 because you gave so much incredible information on there. And I just want to reiterate to anybody who isn't involved with you directly. One of the many things that I love about you, Gus, is you're a true practitioner. What you just said, it's not theoretical. So anybody who, if you don't know Gus, you're welcome to LabCoatAgents for Gus being on here, sharing his information. But when it comes down to your value, it's huge. I mean, you create such great content, Gus, for the community that you serve, and you're so consistent. You're posting on social. I'm one of those lucky individuals that gets that email multiple times, right? And it's always leading with value and really just front loading that into the relationship. So to your point, to everyone, you should really be emulating what Gus is doing in your own form, in your own market, with your own knowledge and value. And I agree, Gus, that'll make that next step so much easier because you've already given so much. And again, I just want everyone to know that you practice what you preach. This is not theoretical. You're the real deal. So I love it, Gus. I love it.
I appreciate that comment. And now, I go hardcore in the comment because it's so valuable, right? It's so important. And so one, it taps into who I am, and two, it's very effective to nurture my audience, right? To keep my audience top of mind. But when I started, I was nowhere near that of what I am right now. No, I do 3 to 4 emails every single week. I'll do it live every day. Like now it's like nuclear, but I didn't start that way. And you can get a 10% conversion rate without doing that at the highest level, right? So I want to make it as least intimidating to people as possible. Jump into it because this is not that hard to do. You've got 10 hours a year to call your database. You probably, right? So find a way to make it happen. Step number 3, the simplest one of 3, which is, Greg teased it, you've got to find a way to grow that database. Another one of my second big mistake, or probably my first big mistake, was when I grew my database from 200 to 300 people. I only grew it, this is crazy, with clients, new clients that I closed transactions, right? So it went from 200 to 300 just in closed transactions, right? For me and my team. Boom, 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 boom. People that knew me because of the transaction probably, or because they were referred by someone. Every now and then they close an internet lead. Okay, sure. It was mostly database, right? So it just grew from referrals from my database. That's how it grew. If I would have been intentional and added one person a week, bro, it would have been 50% larger than 3 years. One person per week. If I would have done what Ed Boulanger did, 20 people a day, my goodness, right? I would have supercharged my business because I was so good at working that database. I did not realize that I could just make it bigger and increase the results. And again, even if I didn't get a 50% conversion rate, because those people might have been closer to me than some of these. Okay, great. 10% conversion rate. Hell, 8% conversion rate on a 1,000 person, right? How does that sound? Whoa, that's where it gets interesting, right? So you kind of realize when you build it, you work it effectively, right? If you work it half as good as Gus, 4.5% conversion rate in a year, grow it more. Cheat, right? I'm not as good as Gus. I just need a bigger database then, right? And then I'll get the same result. I'll approach it another way. But that only comes by knowing how to do steps 1 and 2. It kind of clicks for you eventually. Oh man. So now my newsletter then was 200 people. My newsletter now is 4,000 people, right? I have a Facebook group with almost 5,000 people. So now I get it now. I didn't get it back then. But again, you can have success even without doing that. I'm trying to tell you, right? But you don't have to make my same mistake. Make a goal, stick to it. It can be 2 people a week. So your database will grow 50% first year. It'll grow 40% second, so on and so forth. Right? 100 people every year. Add 100 people to it every year. Guys, that is the unbelievably simple goal to achieve. Attend an open house and knock 1 door in your neighborhood. You got 2 clients. You're done for the week, right? So it's honestly, and my team, if we're running a team today, it would be multiple contacts per week. That's a standard I would set, right? I'm not going to give a number. I don't want to scare people. But I mean, it would be multiple contacts per week, new people into the database. Not Facebook leads, not Google. No. I'm talking about people we go out in the wild and we're marketing to, talking to, knowing, and talking about real estate. Right? So that's how you add. You turn it from unmet into met by having a real estate conversation and bringing them into the database. So that's step number 3. If you guys follow steps 1, 2, and 3, you're going to get that kind of a 10% up to 15% conversion rate on that database. And if you don't, if you find this too hard, something's not working, something's not functioning, guys, I challenge you to do it in the next 90 days. And if it's not working the way you message it, right? You're probably doing something wrong there, right? I will help you work through these problems. You get a good group here today. Whoever on this call is not making it happen, following these steps, message me, drop a post in LCA, find me on Facebook Messenger, whatever way you want, and I will take a look and help you out. I am that confident that this can work.
Gus, you nailed it. The energy is fantastic. And again, just so much information inside here to apply. And for everybody who's on this, whether you're tuning in live with us now or after the fact in the recording in the YouTube, build it, work it, grow it. I mean, that's really it at the end of the day, as Gus said. And once again, it's just really taking that time, and there's ways to accelerate. There's all kinds of information that's here, but I would encourage everyone to reach out to Gus, follow Gus, join the groups, really see what he's doing, and you can emulate certain aspects of that. Look out to your peers and what you're finding is working for them to grow. And it's kind of that cliche, Gus, you kind of alluded to, your network equals your net worth, right? And that's
I love that one. 100%.
Yeah.
100% it does. And how you bring people in that network can be belly to belly, face to face. You can buy some of those people in there, but you got to have that conversation with you. You got to know who you are. It's all about once you figure this out, the game, I'm telling you, it's as simple as getting more people into that data.
Say no more, Gus. You absolutely killed it. Again, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this. As always, it's an absolute pleasure, my friend. Anybody out there? So Gus, you have through PowerISA, we've got a promo going on right now through LCA. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. If you want to check out, the promos we've got discounts on our plans, whether it's part-time, full-time. You can get an ISA to help you call your database depending on the size. Had a client in Seattle, 35,000 people in his database. But here's the crazy part. A third of those are Met leads. I'm not joking. Met lead, very social guy. Let's just call him a power-driving social connector. Had an ISA call through that the first month, 55 listing appointments, right? From that massive data. Again, not everybody's going to have that. I don't want to see that the typical result, right? But that is insane because he was not properly prospecting his own database, right? Just not properly. Again, not everyone's going to have 10,000 people that they know, right? Not. But use that example, right? What happens if you work your database? It's not going to be 55 listing appointments, but is it going to be 1, 2, 3, right? You don't know the number until you make that call. And if you have the scale in your business, you need help doing it, an ISA is a great way to do it. And the best way that ISA can help you out is if you have a really big unmet database, right? That's worth leveraging out because they don't know you anyway, right? They got someone on your team, you call them and just have an interview with them and talk to them. The Met database is harder to hand off, but when it's 10,000 people, you need help. No one's going to make 10,000 calls in any reasonable amount of time, right? So you need help with that. But ISS can help you make those calls so you're only talking to the qualified, most motivated.
Love it, Gus. And again, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. And we need to catch up on adding another ISA. I'll call you later. It's good. It's growth. So, but yeah, again, anybody, any thoughts, questions, that sort of thing, please reach out to Gus directly. We'll have links in the comments, as well as if you missed it, if you jumped in halfway through, please check out the YouTube channel through LCA, and you will be able to watch this whole thing. Watch it again and again. Share it with your friends. Anyone who could really use this information to grow and scale the real estate business, please get the word out. But Gus, anything else you want to say before we kind of close everything out?
I know that's it. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. We'll catch you on the next live webinar through LabCoatAgents. Take care.